I've made over 100 Homey videos, as I told you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. When are you going to send my employment contract?
Well, currently you're doing this for free, so...
Oh, shoot! Ja, så er jeg landet hos Homey. Homeys hovedkvarter, som I kan se her i baggrunden. Fjerner mig lige fra den spot der. Ja, så kom der en anden spot. Vi er i Homeys hovedkvarter, og der er kage. Skal I se, der er kage. Hey, Homey-kage. Og jeg fandt også lige noget andet, I skal se her. Jeg skal lige have stjålet noget her. Hallo, der er merch her. Jeg skal lige spørge Emile, om jeg ikke må stjæle noget af det her tøj her, eller Stefan. Men jeg er på Homeys hovedkvarter, og ja, det er så her hele Homey-teamet sidder og udvikler, blandt andet, og laver alt det, vi nyder godt af. Ja, der er lidt Danalog derovre, der er lidt Homeys her, og lidt skærme og sådan noget. Jeg vil ikke filme for meget, fordi det kunne være, der var noget her, der ikke skulle vises. Men ja, og her er mødelokalet, som Emile og jeg går ind i om lidt. Så får vi lige en sludder. Det kunne være, at jeg lige skulle tage et stykke af det der kage der. Nå. Jeg går ind med Emile lige om lidt, så sætter vi os lige ind i mødelokalet og får en lille sludder. Hej alle sammen, velkommen til RepairGuyDK. Ja, så er jeg altså landet i Enschede. Emile, how do you say this town's name?
Enschede.
Enschede. Was that correct?
Yes.
Enschede. RepairGuyDK er landet her i Holland, og jeg sidder altså med Emile, co-founder og creative director. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. I have no idea what he's doing, but we'll find out. Velkommen til. Vi skal til fest. There's a party here at 8 o'clock, so we have to move quick. But Emile, how did this all start? From just the short version. From was it your idea in 1970?
I'm not that old, like
No.
No. So basically, Stefan is the other co-founder, the commercial director. We knew each other from our studies here at the university in this city. And in my student dorm, I was already tinkering and soldering a lot of like home automation stuff, even before the word smart home.
From childhood, you had your,
Yeah. I actually found a note some time ago that I wrote when I was 7, and I was describing a home that I could talk to, and it would respond to everything.
Okay, so
that was pretty creepy. But
you were born to this.
Apparently, I was. Yeah. Anyway, so I was hobbying in my student dorm, and then we did a project at the university to sort of see if we could commercialize the idea, and we thought we could. So then we graduated actually doing a Kickstarter. We were the first Dutch Kickstarter to do it. Kickstarter just launched in the Netherlands.
In 2014, right?
2014, yeah.
10 years ago,
Yeah, so we were the first one in euros. That was also something new. Okay. And then we hit our target after, looking back, a pretty awkward video. But at that time, it was apparently worth 200,000 euros.
You're here now.
Yeah. And then, so we had to make the product, of course. So we didn't pursue our studies anymore. And then we just went full on with the company, got some hardware designers on board that we also knew from our studies. Very blessed to have found those people, because we couldn't have done it without them.
No, and the rest is history.
Apparently.
And now we're 10
years later.
Anniversary. Maybe this is for Stefan, but how's the launch of Homey going worldwide? More specifically, maybe US. Can you tell me a little about?
Yeah, sure. So we did launch the cloud service Homey and Homey Bridge in the US as well. It was our first product that was certified for the US. That went pretty well. It took some time to get it into the big stores like Best Buy, Home Depot, but those are really the big names.
Totally new territory for you also.
Absolutely. And of course they didn't know us. So Homey works very well with all the European smart home brands and some more, but for the US we really had to basically start over again, integrate everything together. Luckily, this time we had the product and the platform. We
Yes.
only had to do the brands, and your web to do everything at once.
And you also have had the certification, the FCC certification
Yes.
in US regarding the frequencies and all that
exactly.
stuff.
And I mean, there are a lot of antennas in there, so
Yeah.
it was very expensive to get that.
Yeah.
And also with the new Homey Pro, of course, the 2023 version, same story. So it also sells in the US. And well, it's not going bad for sure. It can always be better.
It's going slow, but it's going. Is that the right word?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. And we also see that developers are jumping on the platform now. We had that, of course, a lot
From across the lake.
Yeah, from America. So
Yeah.
they are now working on integrations that, for brands that I've never heard of, but that were very important. there.
Lumitron.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Zeus, for
Third
example.
Reality. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here's a good one. A lot of people, including myself, in Philips Hue and IKEA system, you can hold down a button and dim down. Hold it again, dim up smoothly. Why can't you do that in Homey with a light bulb? Why can't I have a smooth dimming down and dimming up?
It depends on the lights. I know in the Zigbee specification, you can sort of specify the transition time, and Philips Hue defaults to like 250 milliseconds from the top of my head.
There's no native function in Homey that does it. If I put
But then
it
you
on-
mean the dimming specifically, right? Because if you
Yes,
turn off
it's
a bulb in
specifically
Homey,
the dimming.
it does fade.
Yeah.
And then from a flow, you mean?
No, just native. If you put a bulb in IKEA system or a bulb in Philips, you natively hold it down, you'll dim it down, release it, hold it down again, it'll dim up.
But then with what brand remote would you want to do that?
Any light bulb.
Yeah, so the bulb, but you also have to remote. Oh, you mean in the Homey app?
Yes.
Sorry, I thought...
No,
because you were
sorry, yeah. I should have asked you more precisely.
All right. That's a great question. Well, in the Homey app, you have a slider, so you can just set the percentage directly. I guess that's always faster, right, than just sort of holding a button in the app.
I know it's the old way to do it. You push the button and the Philips bulb goes down. Release and push it again, it goes up. But there's no native...
But you're not comparing a Philips Hue remote, like a physical remote, to the app, right?
Yes.
I think the app is better, that you can sort of say directly, I want it to be at 50%. I mean, we can make something in the app that you can hold a button to. That's good. You're actually the first one to ask me that.
Yeah, I think what people would like, when you push the button, that should be a function. When you push the button, it will transition from the state it is in, example, 80%, and 79, 78, 77, all the way down to 0, as long as you hold the button. When you release it and push it again, it'll...
a sort of
percentage.
Every second you take off 10% or something.
Yeah, but it should be not 10% because that would be visible.
No, of course, but
needs to be smooth.
It's more like every second 10%, but every like sort of 100 milliseconds you take off one.
Yes, exactly.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the first person to ask
Really?
me. Yeah. So no, I haven't thought about that at all.
We'll have another discussion when you and me, we do an AMA together.
Tell your viewers to send me an email if they want this, and if there's enough people, then we'll definitely consider it.
You heard that? The newest feature we got recently was moods for Homey, kind of like Philips Hue scenes. And for me, really the only reason for me to keep the Philips Hue bridge, because I love the scenes in Philips Hue. But what's next for Homey, feature or software-wise? Can you disclose a bit of that maybe? Something that you can say a little bit about without getting in trouble?
Well, luckily for you, we did our Ask Me Anything at the beginning of this week, and we did already tease a few features. So there's a few things coming up. I would say the device groups is one we talked about.
Very shortly,
Very shortly.
You just mentioned it Yes,
we did.
Yeah.
We don't want to, say too much about it because it's still in development and we're still figuring out what's the right way to do things. So I don't want to promise something, and that's why we don't share that much. But of course, the bigger one would be dashboards, and I think that's going to be great.
You said on camera it would be fucking epic. You remember that?
Yeah, I did. At the same time, I was thinking, we're streaming this on YouTube. Can you actually swear on YouTube?
Yes, you can.
I had no idea.
Yeah, you can. You can. You're allowed to swear on YouTube, but not frequently through the whole video.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're the YouTube guy, obviously.
Let me ask you another question. When you say dashboard, if you can answer this, or will answer this, will it be kind of like advanced flow where you drag and drop an item you want to be displayed on the dashboard, or how do I build up my dashboard?
So there will be widgets.
Yeah.
A very nice collection of widgets.
Yeah.
And there will also be third-party widgets eventually. So developers can create their own widgets to add to the system. So that's going to be very nice. And then I won't go into detail like how they are arranged on the dashboards and how they will scale and stuff. I want to keep that for one of the next podcasts that we want to do, and actually let our designers and developers show it, because they put so much love in it. I don't want to steal their moment. But that's basically the essential part of the dashboards. And these dashboards, you can build them on one device and view them on other devices, and it will always work, and it will always look nice.
And update.
Update in real time, of course. Yeah.
Okay, I won't ask you any further around that subject.
I know we never promised dashboards, of course, but it's something that we also wanted to do ourselves, and we wanted to do it right. So we took our time. We also thought there were more pressing things that we wanted to work on first, but now I think now is a great time to work on dashboards. And we want to be once we sort of ship it to a public beta, we're going to be very transparent about our plans for it as well. Also because we want to involve the Homey developer community to create their own widgets for it, for example. Any
ETA on that one without me giving you the axe if it doesn't happen?
Let's see, we're currently at Q3 this year. So we're currently at the last month of Q2. So that could be either within 1 month or 3 months.
Okay.
It really depends on how well the development goes, but what I've seen so far, and of course I see this every day.
It's moving good speed.
Yeah, and we're already using it internally, so that means a lot that most of the stuff is already working. But we like to polish.
Can I get a screenshot of that?
Maybe I can show you, but you can't share it on camera. So
damn it. Okay, we'll see. Please don't take this as criticism. But as I told you at dinner time, I would like to see Homey way more online, meaning more Homey videos, not TikTok style video, but Alex style videos.
Yeah, we miss Alex too.
You seem to be, I've written here, you seem to be very busy, which is fine, but as a consumer, I can't help feeling a little bit alone sometimes because there is often many months between your appearance online, not in the forums, but Homey in general. Let's have a video from the factory. Let's meet the development team. We talked about this recently. I think people would really like that and see more from behind the scenes of Homey.
Yeah, we also want to do that.
Instead of a more often polished front. We like Homey. We like to be engaged, also in all the stuff that's going on. That's not
absolutely. Yeah. I think it sort of comes in waves how we feel about that, and I'm very happy with the communication style we have. Things being polished, because you should imagine that like 95% of our consumer base is just I don't want to call them simple, but just a happy customer that just likes new stuff. And is it too much involved? Of course. But the nice part is that, there's all the nerds, but I'm a big nerd as well. And I really it makes my day interacting with those people, because it sort of feels like, oh, I'm doing this for those people as well.
And you are.
And I can relate. So the Ask Me Anything that we did last Monday, we actually invested a little bit in a podcast setup. And yes, it can be better, like volume levels and who knows what. But
you'll learn.
We're learning.
Yeah.
My plan is to do that every month, and then also invite our designers and developers and other people into the show and let them basically tell their story, like, why did we design it in this way? What were the complications that arose? Because people only see the end result, and then they think, well, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But you know, it takes like a mountain
Yeah.
that you have to climb and descend from to get there. And telling that story and then showing what we're working on. I really want to do that more, because it's fun to do for us, and I think now we're at a point in our company that we can do it in a way that looks nice. It's a bit polished, but also a bit still like very, very community friendly, so to say.
But now you have a media, where you and me might do some of these Zoom calls or, you know, interactions where you and me can talk once a month, once per second month or something.
Invite me to your show,
yeah.
I'll happily join.
You heard that?
I like
too.
these questions so far.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, okay. I've done my work in the airplane. Let's see. How many people are working here right now? I remember you said on a keynote 1.5 years, 2 years ago, you were about 24 people in Homey?
Yeah, sounds right. We're currently at 40-ish.
40-ish. So you've grown.
We're growing. We're almost growing out of this office. It's the best office you can get in this city, because it's in the city center with a roof terrace that we throw parties like this one. But we're kind of already growing out of it, so I don't really know how we're going to deal with that.
Next year we have a problem, Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
Do you feel that Home Assistant is a competitor to Homey or a companion? Personally, I have both because Homey can't do everything. And Home Assistant UI looks like something from 1980. And it's not very intuitive from a basic non-technical consumer to make automations. I've connected a home assistant up to Homey because all the, to be honest, all the Chinese crap that a Home Assistant can manage, that Homey doesn't care about for now. It works very well. Do you find Home Assistant like a competitor, or are you okay? Do you have a Home Assistant? You've played around with Home Assistant, I guess.
Barely.
Okay.
To be honest.
Okay.
I honestly don't really like looking at other systems because they sort of, how do you say
You don't want
this?
to be biased? Or
Yeah, you don't want to be influenced by, I want to call them bad ideas, but like, I really enjoy looking at a problem and then coming up with a solution that fits that problem very well. And if you look at a competitor that...
Without looking at the neighbor.
Yeah. So because then it's super hard to sort of unlearn what you've seen. I think if you look, for example, at Advanced Flow, so many people said, oh, it's like Node-RED. I've never used Node-RED in my entire life.
It's nothing like Node-RED.
I don't think so. I started, I set it up with a Docker container or whatever. After people said that, I was like, well, not really. Yes, it has lines as well, and you can drag and drop stuff.
That's the only comparison.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that if we looked at Node-RED before, I would have sort of been influenced by that and maybe just made it look nicer, but have sort of the same. But I think Advanced Flow is such a success because we built it from the ground up. But anyway, back to your question. It's sort of maybe a little bit of a competitor, mostly in terms of developer mindshare. So Homey is a platform, and we have a very strong developer community. And it's sad when a developer leaves the Homey developer community to basically do work for Home Assistant. Yeah. And that's tricky because Home Assistant is by nerds for nerds, and that kind of attracts some developers. But we really like the developers who want to make something nice looking, work great UX, etc.
Do you have developers that come from Home Assistant Two Homey?
A lot.
Okay,
There are
okay.
many.
So you're stealing from each other.
Really, I'm confident that there are more people coming from Home Assistant to Homey than the other way around. But that makes a lot of sense because Home Assistant is free. You can, every nerd has a Raspberry Pi laying in a drawer somewhere. So you just start with that. But we see so many people who switch to Homey because they like the smart home aspect of it.
Yeah.
But they want the stability. They want something that's polished.
That looks good.
It's like you can start with Linux, or when I was younger, I used Ubuntu and I rooted my phones, my Android phones. But when you get a little bit older and you just want something that works, you now I buy a
Windows.
MacBook. Yeah.
Oh, MacBook. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a different audience. I would say Home Assistant people are more like they like the journey, configuring YAML files and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And people with Homey are more goal-oriented. They like tinkering with it, but sort of the baseline, it should work because their wife doesn't, says that it should work. And
the graphics on Homey, there's no comparison between Home Assistant and Homey.
I think so. It's very hard for open source projects. I run an open source project as well for like a VPN for WireGuard. It's super hard to keep it simple and accessible and look nice because people come in with ideas and it's so hard to say no to people. It's super hard, especially in open source.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
But I also want to emphasize, I think we share a lot of values with Home Assistant. Like privacy first is a very big one. The sort of the local first mentality. I know Homey is a little bit more cloud dependent, but that's also because we want to do this ease of use, I don't want to require people to do port forwarding, for example.
No.
It just should work out of the box. But we offer port forwarding if you want it, but it shouldn't be like a requirement. But I think there's a lot of overlap between the systems, much more overlap than differences maybe. If you compare Homey to a Google Home or Alexa, because those are my real competitors. People who think they have a smart home, but are so much they're missing out on everything that we offer.
Yeah, I like Home Assistant, but only because there's an app made that makes me import the thing from Home Assistant, use it in my Homey, and actually make some flows with it. And they talk.
Yeah, and we made that app. Yeah. Actually, I started the development of that app.
Okay.
Because the initial thought of that app was that people who use Home Assistant are pretty happy with that, but their partner and their kids, etc., they don't want to use that.
No.
So they can subscribe to a free Homey cloud account and then use the Home Assistant app to basically have a better UX for their families.
Exactly.
And that is how people are using it, or people who want to connect to Chinese crap.
Yeah, Chinese crap.
So, we're happy with that. And
we have a lot of Chinese crap in RepairGuyDK also.
And now Tuya is working officially as well.
Ooh, that's going to be big. I started with smart things and finally caved in a year later since ProShop asked me to review the Homey Pro 2019, as we talked about. What's your thought on Samsung smart things? Are they out of the game?
You got to give them credit. They sort of started the smart home help market. They were a Kickstarter as well. But they sold to Samsung. And I guess when you sell a company, there can be multiple strategies. And the strategy that Samsung did with smart things was Samsung couldn't get all the Samsung devices working in one app because Samsung is so big that they couldn't get their departments working together. And that's why they bought smart things, because they needed one app for all the Samsung products. And that's what you see nowadays. If you open the Smart Things app, all the non-Samsung stuff is pushed back, and every day it gets pushed back. Like, what's the last time you connected a Z-Wave device to Smart Things, right? They even sold off their hub, I think, to
Aerotech, yeah.
So, to me, Smart Things nowadays is the app you get when you buy a Samsung fridge. And it's not a real competitor.
No.
We've seen the same when I think they made sort of a few choices that sort of angered the original Smart Things community, and we saw like an influx of sales coming from these people. Like, okay, I'm gonna buy a Homey.
We're done with Smart Things. Yeah. What are your dreams for Homey in 2025, 2026, software-wise or business-wise? I know you're a coder, you're a nerd, you like the software in Homey, but
I did start a hardware company.
Yes, you did.
I like things
yes.
I can touch.
Yeah.
The combination is the best of both worlds, really. It's so much nicer to do both.
What do you see happen in 2025 with Homey?
I really want to focus more on building a Homey ecosystem of devices. And we're not going to compete with our partners, so we're never going to make like motion sensors or stuff. We're only going to make something if it isn't already on the market and done great. So I see a lot of opportunities there. We have a very strong hardware team, a very strong software team.
With big knowledge.
Very big knowledge, and
Very
also passion
people.
for UX.
Yeah.
So that's something that I really enjoy doing. And in parallel, we're still shipping software updates, even to the Homey sold 8 years ago. I mean, tell me a company who does that, right?
Nobody. Nobody.
So we're still doing that as well. I like doing both.
Looks promising, I hope, in 2025 for Homey.
There's going to be a lot of great things happening.
Is Homey Bridge fully integrated in Homey now? Here, I mean, does it now functions like a Zigbee and Z-Wave repeater? Is everything on
Homey Pro, you mean? As a satellite?
Bridge, the Homey Bridge, yes, as a satellite mode.
A satellite, yeah.
Is it fully integrated now? Or are we missing out?
No, a Bluetooth Low Energy is still missing.
Yeah.
But I also told this during the AMA, we're going to make Homey Bridge a Bluetooth repeater. Not really a repeater.
A proxy?
It's more like, so
Bluetooth
imagine.
Proxy?
Yeah. So if an app, let's say I have a toothbrush app.
Yes.
I have a Sonicare Philips, it has Bluetooth, and even has a gyroscope. Let's say I have a Homey Bridge near my bathroom, and the Sonicare app on my Homey Pro requests a search for my Sonicare toothbrush. Then what we will do is we will search locally, so on Homey Pro itself, because it has Bluetooth, but also every satellite connected will also start searching.
We'll relay it out to...
And then the search results will go back to Homey Pro. We will sort of merge the search results, sort it basically by signal strength, and then if the Homey Bridge that was nearest to my toothbrush has found it, then when the app connects to it, we will use that Homey Bridge to connect to the toothbrush. So in that way, you can have multiple Homey Bridges, always be close to your Bluetooth device.
And I can make a flow that says to my wife, your husband is brushing his teeth now, please get ready.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Or near your smart lock or something.
Zoe would love that. So she knows when I'm coming to bed.
Nice. But for the rest, Homey Bridge is fully integrated as a satellite. So
good to
pretty
hear.
happy with that. I thought it was so nice that we can sort of reuse Homey Bridge also for the Homey Pro audience. Also, not only because it is nice as a repeater, but also because we see that many people start with our cloud service. So they start for free. They buy a Homey Bridge, they subscribe to our premium, and then after 6 months, they are like,
Monty.
damn, these community apps, man, I want them as well. Then they buy Homey Pro, and then they can reuse their Homey Bridge in the same ecosystem.
Exactly.
So that's something that I really enjoy.
That was, I guess, the whole idea also, that you actually could use your bridge if you upgrade it. It wasn't just a piece of junk hardware.
Yeah,
you could use
that would have been sad, and also sort of prevent people from upgrading anyway, because then they would have to choose. And now it's sort of like you have this old Sonos and you have a new one, and you can just make them work together as well.
Yeah. When can we buy a transparent case for our?
For now, these are exclusive to our employees.
I know you keep saying that. I'm a consumer. I want to go into your shop. I want to pick out the transparent case, and I want it shipped to me in 3 days.
So let's say we do a limited edition.
Yes.
How much would you be willing to pay for it?
I would say 25 euros is fine.
Just for the case?
Yeah.
But then you have to unscrew it.
It's 4 screws. It's like
No, we're not going to sell just a case. Then we will sell a Homey Pro with the case if we are going to do that.
No. Last question.
And you can always 3D print it.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not as nice.
It's not clear. No, it's
true.
not.
It's true.
Okay, this is my personal question actually. In Homey, this is technical, so it's right up your alley. In Homey 2019, you can, in your development tool, you can see my Zigbee or Z-Wave routing. Why don't I have that access in 2023? When I want to diagnose IKEA switch or whatever, it's so nice you in 2019 can see, oh, it's routing through this one, this Akara switch, and then it goes there, and then it goes there.
It's a good question, but to be honest,
I would like for you to be honest.
So initially we added that just the information was available, so let's show it to the user. But the information that's shown there is not wrong, but it's sort of the conclusions that you get from it are usually wrong. Our customers that really were into that wanted, basically they saw it, but they wanted to modify it. But that's just not how Z-Wave and Zigbee work. No. You don't have control over that. It's sort of auto-discovering. So showing the information and they couldn't modify it. Our support team, which are also human beings with a limited time, they were swamped with these kind of requests. Like, can I change this? No, you can't. But it is routed so weird. It's routed through my garden light back into my house. That kind of stuff.
So you just turned it off.
Basically, yeah. Basically, we said, okay, it's doing more harm than good to show this. Let's just hide it, and we don't get any complaints anymore.
No.
So
it's
a bit weird. I understand sort of the frustration, like why you're hiding information from me, but if the wrong conclusions are being made and our support team is sort of bearing the pain, then
the information is nice to know, but not on a need to know basis.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, because I thought it was nice to see in developer tools, oh, this Akara switch is going through the Philips Hue plug, and then it goes back to Homey.
It is nice, but it might also not be true that. Yeah, it might also not be true that actually happens.
Okay.
It might. Zigbee and Z are very complicated protocols, so it might actually be that another time it takes another route. So it's not that static.
So I cannot
actually.
trust it.
No, you can't.
Okay.
And should we communicate something that's like true 80 to 90% of the time?
No.
We also learned from these protocols, because for us these Zigbee and Z-Wave are sort of black boxes as well, right? Zigbee is of course more open, and Z-Wave also a little bit, but their inner workings are super complicated, and you need like 5 PhDs to actually understand what's going on. Okay.
Well, if I cannot trust it, I don't want it.
Yeah, that's basically the gist of it.
I understand. What about the IR? You have the world's most powerful IR blaster in Homey. Is it capable of learning IR signals?
No, there's no receiver in Homey Bridge.
The diode, does it has to be receiver capable also?
Yeah, it's a different component.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we did remove it from the hardware because the first, like the sphere Homey has it. The problem was that people wanted to copy their signals, but it's like if you copy a key and then the key gets worse. And infrared is very timing sensitive. So it often worked sort of less than the original. So we thought it would be much better if people just simply type in their brand name, and then we have sort of the real signal, like the true signal, defined by the manufacturer.
I get that. It's just because, we're nerds like you, and all this Chinese crap, all these LED candles, and all that junk you can buy.
Yeah.
You can then buy a €20 IR blaster, and you can make the candle work. you know, with this, because you can copy the code.
Yeah, it's true. But you can also, if you really enjoy doing this, get a Flipper Zero, for example. You know, it's sort of a hack tool with an infrared receiver as well.
The switchbot hub can do it, and the switchbot hub works in Homey.
Oh well, then that's also one.
Yeah, that's.
I think there's also a Broadlink. It's called like.
It's not working anymore.
Oh, that's too bad.
Because SDK 3 point some, the developer left the building.
maybe some other developer.
Yeah,
can take it
we'll see what
anyway,
happens in the US.
You can just get the signal from somewhere. So either you record it yourself with maybe a Flipper Zero or a very cheap Arduino with a receiver, and then just create a Homey app that sends the signal. So we have support for Pronto hacks, is sort of the industry standard.
Yeah, I was looking
you can
a
even
little
do it
bit
in flow
into that.
cards.
It was too complicated for me, but yeah.
I kind of get it. But it's, you know, do we really have to put a infrared receiver in there just to control a few Chinese candle lamps?
People want it all.
I know.
They want it all. And if it ain't there, they want it. Okay, last question, then we go to the party. When are we getting Homey Pro 2?
I think we're currently already at the 4th generation, so you can buy.
You said on the AMA Ultra Max.
Homey Pro Max Ultra
Elite. Something. Just kidding. Just kidding.
You get a notification when we have a new keynote.
Thank you. Can I get it for free, Emile?
Why?
You have to answer. You're on camera. Do I get the new Homey for free or not?
Probably if you do a nice review of it,
okay.
Then we do send out free units.
Okay. Guys, thanks Emile for taking your time. We're actually 15 minutes over party time, and Emile sat down with me. So thanks Emile. We'll definitely look into this AMA, me and Emile, doing some Zoom calls or something in the future.
Thanks.
See you guys. Bye.
That was fun.
It was fun. And now let's have something to drink.
Yes.